Is there a lower third? I'm glad there's a lower third. I'm glad this is working out beautifully. Gosh, it really does feel like 91 degrees outside, doesn't it? It really does feel like 91 degrees.
So let's sit down and let's start the show. Look, we got a chat room. We're all high tech.
This time we have a chat room. Last week we did not have a chat room, and I only got live messages from the hotline.
And look, we're streaming
Oh,
live.
we're streaming live right there. Look
Look,
at
so
that.
Inception, Liveception. Look, the lower third looks better than the camera. Oh, whatever.
The lower third actually does look good.
Right?
Well done.
Well done. All right, thank you to our friends at Justin TV for bringing us a beta version of their streaming app, which we used at WonderCon. And this is Torn Tuesday. Welcome. I'm Justin. That's Cliff.
And I'm Clifford, also known as old-time original staff writer Quick Beam. 15 years ago.
Is my head cut off? My head's cut off.
Better adjust the framing. Well, I continue. The introduction. 15 years ago, this past week, excuse me, I'm feeling verklempt, feeling a little emotional. I'm getting teared up, and I can't.
You know, there's been a lot of big
control
news.
my emotions.
There's been a lot of big news, but we're more focused this week.
Yes, are we focused?
We're
Yes,
focused
are we?
because we're looking back, and one of these days we'll do a proper full look back. But it's been
15 years ago this week. TheOneRing.net
was founded,
was created, and not long after the creation of TheOneRing.net, they sent out a call for writers and contributors.
And t-shirt makers.
And, well, we're talking 15 years ago. I hadn't even met you yet.
No.
But the Star Wars Episode 1 phenomenon had not brought us together.
The first time you met me, you stuck a camera in my face. So this is punishment.
Punishment.
This show has been the long con punishment for putting me in your documentary, Ringers, yes. Lord of the Fans.
And because of our director, you
camping.
You ended up on the cutting room floor anyways.
I know, I made it in.
You did?
Urban camping. That's.
Well, I think there's a brief shot of you floating around in the background, but I don't think we.
No. I am credited as a speaking role in your dang movie.
Look, he's like, just tweet it. Our fans are actually watching us from England. Hey there, Tandy. And hello, everybody who's watching us live.
So we're in the chat room at
around the world.
TheOneRing.net/live.
I'll just tweet it live right now
and
on the show.
We've got Teteris, Stargate Geek, Holy
Hey,
Hobbit.
there is Teteris. Eravandi, there's Teteris. Hello, Teteris, my friend.
Everybody's here.
Is everybody there?
Yeah.
Wow, TF Drums is there?
So it's been an exciting day, actually.
Dude, it's
of
North
news.
Is that? No, I was looking for Pete. There's Dwalin Dude. I'm waiting for, there's Emily. I'm waiting for Pete Northrunner to come back and visit the show sometime. Remember our good buddy Pete?
Oh yeah, he did give us warning that he did get more work at
That's good. I'm glad he's busy.
Yeah.
So hello everybody. 15 years ago, and there we are. Still, TheOneRing.net, the largest, most central, most on top of it, most on point, brilliant,
we're still
intuitive, wonderful collective.
Someone's got an ego
of Tolkien fans.
I just make t-shirts.
No, we need to acknowledge what we've created.
Right. We never get to trumpet our own horn, because that's not what Tolkien is about.
No, quite the opposite.
So
no, all ego aside, TheOneRing.net really has accomplished something quite significant, especially in regard to other fan sites that come and go in the blink of an eye. And we have such a solid community, and it's about you guys. It's about
everybody in the chat room.
Yeah, everybody.
So thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
This is our TheOneRing.net/live chat room that's on Justin TV, and
so you have to go to JustinTV.com, and then how do you navigate to find this chat?
Yeah, just search for the One Ring or the One Ring Net, or we might even be on the homepage if our friends hook us up. But we've got some amazing stories to tell you about the founding of the website, and it is very coincidental. And the reason that we're starting with the creation of the One Ring in 1999 is because there is a direct Star Wars connection. And of course, the big news today is that many of our friends that were actors and featured performers and visual effects artists on The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings are now working on Star Wars.
Episode 7.
Andy Serkis everybody is buzzing. You know, when you see
my God, it's
you
great.
see the trends of like what people
great.
are talking about. People like the first trend was Star Wars news. The second trend was Andy Serkis. That's how important he is.
No one's talking about Donald Sterling or the Clippers on this show today, even though I just did. Aside from the biggest trend in America, Andy Serkis, and believe it or not, I got a notice on Facebook today that Anthony Daniels was also trending.
Yeah.
How about that?
So everybody's making all these Lord of the Rings connections now.
Connect the dots,
and
kids.
There's been a lot of great memes that we've been posting on our Twitter that people have been creating of Meltdown or Star Wars and One Ring crossovers. You know, there's so many more connections to Star Wars that we'll go through during the show here. I mean, there's so many actors that performed in both. I mean, we can start with Christopher Lee and just go on down the line.
Oh gosh, yes.
But,
how many other Lord of the Rings actors are going to end up being in Star Wars or vice versa? Going to, obviously, Count Dooku, played by Sir Christopher Lee, and now our very own Gollum, Smeagol, is going to be an unknown character in the new Star Wars film.
Rumor has it that Andy Serkis is playing a descendant of Jar Jar Binks, so they're actually going to get mocap right this time.
No.
Great job.
They're not doing more Gungans, are they?
I don't think
they better not bring back any more Gungans.
If they're paying Andy Serkis's fee for a Jar Jar character, that is a budgetary issue and not a creative issue.
I like it when Andy is just himself. I mean, I like seeing
himself.
him.
Are you saying that Godzilla is Andy? Like, cause he's
no.
Godzilla.
I'm talking about
he's
Andy.
King Kong.
When he's in the Prestige, you see him as Andy.
Oh yeah.
When he's in movies like King Kong playing Cookie on the ship, that's just Andy being Andy without the mocap. That's what I want to see in the new Star Wars.
Should Andy be
just
a Jedi Master or an alien or a Sith Lord?
I'd like to see Andy as a Jedi Master with some really creative latex makeup.
No,
that would be really kind of cool.
I don't agree. I think
if
you go back to his performances as himself, whether it's in the Prestige, I think Andy would be great as a character that is inspired by Han Solo, and you know that the type of guy, a hustler, a stuttering, fast talking hustler that lives on the outer rim, that wheels and deals his way into prominency.
And he's a hired gun, like a sellsword in Game of Thrones. Maybe his character could be a hired pilot. You know, maybe just some greasy little hired pilot who's usually smuggling things, getting in trouble, and yet one of our heroes needs to hire Andy to transport them somewhere. That could be kind of cool.
It's going to be super fun. Now, George Lucas is involved in this. He's got creative oversight of the first movie and the first movie only. So
creative oversight?
Yes.
What exactly does that entail?
That means that this is his baby, but he's handed over the reins, kind of what he did with Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. He's like, the story is his, but he handed it over to capable filmmakers. So he is involved. So don't rule out Gungans just yet. We know that they're on Tatooine. We know that they're visiting things. You know, there's other actors. It's we'll get into that later. But
we will get into that.
Get him. 15 years is a long time to have a website. If you think about it, MySpace started in 2002. So
MySpace?
We were already like on our third revision of the design of the website by the time MySpace was created. And then going on and on from that, now our Facebook has 230,000 of you fellow fans, and our Twitter. And we've kind of kept up Instagram on Instagram. We've tried to keep up on all the social platforms, but when the One Ring started, it was an IRC chat room. You had to log. I have an IRC chat client like MIRC. And you had to log on to a specific server.
I did that a lot. I remember trying to get those servers right.
Yep.
I do remember that.
And this was before WordPress existed, so it was no easy task to make a website. You had you had to code it yourself. There wasn't many off-the-shelf things unless you went to GeoCities. But 15 years, how many websites have come and gone from Hollywood Stock Exchange to?
Yes.
I mean, there's so many fan sites that live and died while we've
Indeed.
Kept the fires burning.
There were Harry Potter websites that were started, and at the time, Warner Brothers would issue cease and desist letters to shut them down.
Yes.
Remember the falderall when Warner Brothers sent a nasty legal letter to a 10-year-old girl and frightened her, saying that they were threatening her for running a Harry Potter fan website? And here we are, still, 15 years later.
That was Warner Brothers.
That was Warner, and that's where we are now with the Hobbit film.
That's why there's very few Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Warner Brother, Harry Potter fan sites. Like Warner Brothers just, they weren't quick to the fan site thing. Whereas, our friends at Lucasfilm took a wholly different approach, and they said, "You guys are cool. Keep doing what you're doing. Make your fan films, make your Star Wars re-edits. Just don't make money off of it."
Yes,
and so you had this entire ecosystem of fans creating. Remember Troops?
Troops? What's
yeah,
that?
It was before YouTube. You had to download these QuickTime videos, and this guy Kevin Rubio made a parody of Cops featuring stormtroopers, and he called it Troops.
I do remember that. I totally remember that.
And then we had our first fan edit. It was called the Phantom Edit.
That's huge.
Someone had re-edited Star Wars Episode 1 after a lot of the fan frustration said this is not a good movie. People re-edited the movie.
They re-edited the whole film, and they did it so successfully it became well loved and talked about by a lot of other people.
It was the movie that should have been edited.
Yeah, it was a lot.
And in fact, a lot of people now have been asking the same Phantom editor to work his magic with the Hobbit movies, because those things definitely needed to be edited. How do you take a children's book and make 3-4 hour movies? Like, let's get a Phantom edit on that and make it what it needs to be. Get there, get it done. One of these days.
Oh, wait. The first thing that I've heard from some very pessimistic fans, as soon as the Battle of the Five Armies comes out, and we have to talk about the name change, about that as well.
Oh, yes.
We haven't even talked about that yet.
There's been a lot of news this week.
A lot of news. One of my very pessimistic friends said, as soon as the Battle of Five Armies comes out, she cannot wait for the fan edit, taking all three Hobbit films and boiling them down to a single fan edit. That is going to happen.
Yeah. So in
for better or for worse, it's going to happen.
Basically, here, Torn started with a group of 4 fans in 4 different cities in 3 different countries.
Yes.
And they all were members of the chat room, IRC chat room, the OneRing.
The USA, Canada, and New Zealand. The original 4 founders came from 3 countries.
And so it was an IRC thing, and then everyone was a big fan of the biggest fan site at the time, which was theforce.net.
Indeed.
And everyone said, let's do TheOneRing.net, because the OneRing was the chat room. Hashtag TheOneRing.
Yes.
Was the chat room. That's how you joined. And so he was like, let's do it. So funny story. Here in LA, the Star Wars fans were huge. And in fact, we actually did a 6-week lineup for Episode 1. We camped out in front of the world famous Grauman's Chinese Theater, where The Hobbit premiered. Where The Hobbit premiered this year.
Yes.
So at that same theater in 1999, fans camped out for 6 weeks.
There was nothing there but a parking lot.
There was nothing there.
The Chinese theater. Right now, there's Madame Tussauds
and a lot of new stuff.
Hollywood Wax Museum and a stupid candy factory shop and a bunch of other stupid retail shops and a Starbucks and all that crap. But before, there was only one flat, single-level parking lot, and we were there, the fans, literally in a tent, in a variety of camping tents, on the sidewalk, braving the elements, the bums, the LAPD, and we braved all of those crazy things to just stay there and raise money.
It was a stand-a-thon. Like, people would donate money for every hour that everybody spent in line.
And the charity you guys were raising money for?
The Starlight Children's Foundation received a $32,000 check for people standing in line. So that was pretty fun. But so in that line, there were about the theater holds 1,200 seats. So there were about 850 people that spent a little bit of time organized throughout the 6 weeks. But there were a few people, including Chris Parada, who is the co-owner of the OneRing, Jonathan and Marcus Watson, and a few other people that we were all Star Wars fans. And then when the line was ending up, they're like, well, what next? And a few people were like, they're starting to make the Lord of the Rings films. Maybe we should start a fan site around that, because there isn't really anything for Tolkien fans to come together like there was for Star Wars. Because you had CountingDown.com, who was doing the lines. You had the Force.net, which was like the biggest message board and community. And
yes.
you had this whole ecosystem, but there was nothing for Tolkien fans, really. So within the 48 hours of each other, independently, Jonathan and Marcus Watson went out and registered TheOneRing.com. TheOneRing.com.
Yes,
and then,
that was how it happened. That was how that happened.
And then within the same day, unknowingly, in different apartments here in LA, Chris Parada registered TheOneRing.net. And Chris chose the .net because of the Force.net. He's like, there's a connection here with fandoms. Like, maybe fandoms are a .net thing. So you had multiple fans thinking along the same lines, and they said, let's do this. And so that actually happened. This was back in the day when it wasn't as cheap to buy a domain. Like, it was a commitment.
It was
a commitment financially to spend the money to buy a domain name and
to
park it somewhere.
And cyber squatting became something of a little cottage industry on its own.
Yeah.
When people would buy URLs, they would buy entire domain names with the anticipation that somebody would want it and would pay big money for it to get that domain name. That doesn't happen anymore. Hey, let me ask you something.
Yes.
One of those hashtags you wanted me to use for posting this meme?
It was SW Gollum.
SWVII and
no,
also
that's Star Wars 7.
Yeah, but you want to do SW Gollum?
SW Gollum.
Okay. SW Gollum, you got it.
So there is a direct correlation between the history of TheOneRing.net and the history of TheOneRing.com, and Tolkien fandom online has a direct correlation. And so after episode 1 came out, it was a midnight show, and everybody walked out of the theater and just went, "Oh my God, was that the thing that we were waiting for?"
God.
The look of horror and depression, and people were ready to kill. You think fans are angry about the changes Peter's making to Tolkien's work right now? It pales in comparison.
It does. There's nothing
to the hate.
Nothing like that.
Hate.
The vitriol of poor Mr. Lucas earned with the release of the Phantom Menace.
It was so powerful that there's multiple
really
documentaries about the negative fan feedback. Most notably, The People versus George Lucas, where literally 2.5 hours are devoted to how people can love Star Wars and hate George Lucas, because that's how much they hated Episode 1 and Jar Jar Binks. But here's where the fan discussion was going, is because everyone knew that Gollum was going to be a CG character, and so was Jar Jar, and so all this new ground was being broken. And then Star Wars came out, and everyone saw what Jar Jar was, and they're like, that was not
the worst. And everyone was expecting, is everyone going to expect from henceforward that level of crap for a motion capture comedic side character? And that instilled,
and that's what Gollum was,
fear in our hearts. That instilled so much fear, you could not distill it from our hearts. And we were stuck with this nightmare neuroses about what Gollum would be like.
And if you go back to the Bakshi and the animated versions of The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, Gollum was tried to use for comedic purposes, and he was supposed to be the funny one. So there was a direct there was a direct correlation between the humor that Jar Jar was supposed to bring and the humor and the lightness that Gollum was supposed to bring. And so everyone was like, that's what we're getting, like, and so there was fear and trepidation that
to say the least. It was like having an icicle stabbed through your heart.
Yeah.
Oh, look, there's our guest from last week's webcast, Mr. Christopher Northrup, over there, busy talking, doing business.
So that's where it started, and Chris went out and built a website by hand. You couldn't just download a WordPress thing and install a template and go, and everybody had to update the website manually, edit the HTML, and make sure you don't overwrite a current file. And if you want to add a new post, it's a very laborious, technically intensive process to keep a website going in 1999. And so most of the fans ended up staying in the chat room and on the message boards because it was the easiest thing to participate in the community.
What do you think that Peter Jackson was thinking and doing behind the scenes as he was talking with his technical team, Richard Taylor and all the guys from Weta Digital, and sitting down with Andy Serkis and looking at and understanding the hatred and the vitriol from fans who are really pissed off at Jar Jar and the way that mocap was being used? How do you think Peter Jackson all of a sudden felt a little cold bit of ice on the back of his neck, thinking, oh, we better get this right. We better get this right the first time. You know?
Yeah, and I think.
How about that?
I think that's one of the reasons Gollum was executed so well, is that there was enhanced focus on getting it right because of the fallout.
Yes, you know what? I think that's one of the reasons why Gollum was diminished in Fellowship of the Ring.
Yep.
We see him.
They weren't ready for it.
Oh, they weren't ready. No, and they knew they were not ready because of that backlash from fans. And I think it only proves that the filmmakers are actually paying more attention to us.
Tedros says Gollum
audience.
is far more of a role, an actor's role, than Jar Jar. I'll argue that and say no. They're equally. Jar Jar, in fact, was more critical to the story of like he was more of a main character than Gollum was. So it is just like Jar Jar and Gollum were basically equals when it comes to the importance of each movie's storyline. So this is the landscape that we're talking about.
Yes.
In 1999, and this was all unofficial. Fans just chatting with fans, and so we started to get a little bit of buzz on everything that was happening down in New Zealand as they were filming it, and extras and some of the lower level actors started emailing us little tidbits here and there, and like, hey, this just happened on set, or hey, rumor has it that they've just cast this person. So that's That's when the One Rings really started to take off.
Rumor has it, and I'm singing Adele.
When you actually had people on the set giving us scoops, and these were not Warner Brothers marketing. This wasn't like a planned thing. Like, Warner Brothers says, let's give them this little tidbit and have them run with it. No, we were a rumor warehouse. I mean, everything that came in, we posted.
We were a rumor clearance house.
Clearance house.
But we were.
You send it in, we're posting it.
Some of our earliest rumors and spy reports from the very, very early days, 1999, was actually from Erica, our dear Tahanu, who was sneaking around, allegedly poking her nose over fences and climbing over into farmland that wasn't accessible to anybody. And she became somewhat infamous in the world of early internet fandom because they sent a legal notice to her, threatening her with legal action because
every time we posted something.
But then that quickly stopped because somebody upstairs in New Line Cinema realized how valuable the OneRing.net was towards the most important thing of all, pre-release publicity.
So
that's what we became.
So this is the start of kind of the internet age with fandom and fanboy movies, and the studios were still trying to navigate how to coexist with hungry fans who want to know every little thing as it's being done. And so the folks at New Line Cinema and the marketing guys over there and the executives and the owners of the studio itself started embracing us warmly, and there was a lot of internal debate at Warner Brothers with their New Line people. Warner Brothers wanting to own marketing and say, we're going to market this, and New Line saying, leave these guys alone, leave the fans alone, like they're doing more good than harm, trust us. Mm-hmm. So I think Warner Brothers had to bite their lip and yes. Say. And it was through the support of New Line Cinema executives that Peter Jackson really warmed up to the idea of like fans trying to spoil everything. A filmmaker wants to surprise you. A guy like Peter Jackson. This was his. So, I'm sure he was. You've seen all the production diaries. He was super nervous in doing it right. And kind of being true to the fans and true to the source. So, an early leak, any early leak, could affect his position and standing in the community. Case in point, Arwen at Helm's Deep. So we had spy photos sent to us where Liv Tyler was actually part of the Helm's Deep battle when the Rohirrim come battling down the sunlit mountain with Gandalf in tow and Arwen, and just the small little photos from that that we posted. Fans freaked out.
Yeah, they kind of did. Yes.
But this is part of the filmmaking process, is that you make decisions earlier, you see if they work. If they don't work, you either go reshoot it or you re-edit the piece. And there were a lot of things that were edited in, edited out, characters didn't make it in, actors that got replaced. You know, in 1999, Viggo Mortensen hadn't even been cast yet. He didn't even join until February 2000.
That's right, because they had already executed quite a bit of filming. Maybe not quite a bit, but they had finished some filming with Pete Townsend, the original actor who was cast to play Aragorn. Stuart, sorry.
Stuart.
Check my head at the door. Sorry, I meant to say Stuart Townsend.
Yeah, see,
I don't know why I keep making that mistake.
The fans are remembering this. Don't even. Holy Hobbit says, don't even bring that up. Arwen's at Helm's Deep.
Arwen at Helm's Deep.
So there was still this thing, and so we're trying to give you perspective. Like, changes were being made back in 1999, you know, and all the rumors and everything that we were posting was, fans would get up in arms. But then when all the movies came out and all is said and done, everyone says, I can't imagine it any other way. And that's how I feel about The Hobbit right now, where I feel Desolation is a really great movie. I really enjoyed what he did with it, from flowing gold, molten stuff, to everything else. And I think in context,
I thought it was very entertaining, but the diversions from the text and
there's just as many diversions in the Lord of the Rings.
Not at all. The exercise of Lord of the Rings was to compact 3 big books into a movie.
3 movies.
That was a compression exercise in screenplay screenwriting. The Hobbit is an expansion exercise in writing, not a compression exercise. And the results, I think, are somewhat different. I thought that Desolation of Smaug was entertaining up to a point, but then in the last third act of the film, I was just so distracted, I didn't even know what to think anymore.
Text us your opinions. 53064 Frodo.
For Frodo.
53064 Frodo.
Area code 530 number 6 number 4 FRODO.
Text us what you think. What you think about those changes early on. So this is the landscape that the One Ring was operating in, where we would just post everything. Now fast forward to now, we actually had spies. Not only just sending us stuff randomly that we didn't solicit. People would just send us stuff because they wanted to feel the buzz. But someone snuck on the set, I believe, and you were actually a Gondorian soldier.
I was indeed. Yes, I was actually sent to the casting department by Sala Baker. Sala, who played the role of Sauron, the Dark Lord, and a few other Uruk-hai and a few other ugly creatures that he played. But believe it or not, Sala said, in a private note that he sent to I was staying in a youth hostel, a backpacking youth hostel in Wellington at the time, and he said, go on down to casting, they're expecting you. And I said, Sala, I can't do that. I don't have, a work permit. I don't have a working visa to be in this country, accepting any jobs. And he's like, just shut up and go. So Sala sent me down to casting office, and they were shooting scenes on the exterior set of Minas Tirith, which was previously the outdoor quarry where they had shot all the Battle of Helm's Deep. They took that set down, rebuilt the new Minas Tirith set, and as the paint department was flecking their paintbrushes and flicking little spots of paint on the statue in the main courtyard, I was being trussed up in 75 pounds of chainmail and plate mail armor. Not background armor, but hero plate armor, because I was in the very front, right in front of the camera. And boy, that was a day. That was a day for fans.
And this is before everyone had cameras on their cell phones. I mean, you couldn't.
I couldn't do that.
You couldn't sneak cameras onto the set.
Do you know how many people I'm still protecting? Who helped me do this? I'm still protecting the secret identities of people who were sending TheOneRing.net rumors and stuff that was going on behind the scenes. And I will never reveal their names and the stuff that they told me, even though it was 12 years ago. can't.
there's still people that guest edited that were contributors to the OneRing.net that still don't want to be known as leakers.
They don't, because they're still working on The Hobbit right now. They're still on staff.
So this was again, we go back to how New Line Cinema was cautiously embracing what the OneRing.net was doing, and Warner Brothers publicity was like, shut them down, for heaven's sakes. Shut them down.
You know who was a key component in that? That was Mark Ordesky.
Yes.
One of the lead producers in the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Follow him on Twitter, Mark Ordesky.
Absolutely brilliant. Now, also lead producer Barry Osborne, who was the man who went up on stage to accept the Oscar for Best Picture.
The guy with
the beard. Return of the King. He's brilliant. Barry Osborne and Mark Ordesky together became the closest allies of the OneRing.net, 12 or 13 years ago. And bless them both.
Yes.
They had the foresight to know that what we were doing had a bigger impact and a bigger outreach to the worldwide community, and it was just a fan volunteer website, but we had still magnetized everybody to our site. We had all the juice, we had all the gossip, we could parse rumors between false and true faster than anybody else. And that's what we did, and that's what we're still doing.
And so Warner Brothers, 10 years later, when they started filming The Hobbit, Warner Brothers said, how do we get out ahead of this and prevent this from happening? So they invited one of the One Ring staff members, Larry Curtis, and while he was over there, supposedly getting us scoops from the set, they offered him a job to work on the documentary crew for all the behind the scenes on the extended edition. So all of the extended edition interviews that you saw from the set on the extended edition, that was produced by Mr. Sayre, Larry Curtis. So by employing him, they wrapped him up in this big old NDA. And so everything that he saw on set for the last 3 years, you still haven't seen posted. Locked him. The clever Warner Brothers, they beat us at our own game.
Very interesting.
We've had to work long and hard to get scoops.
Only slightly ironic. But I'm going to break out into an Alanis Morissette song in just a second here.
So Warner Brothers knew what we did last time, because after the movies came out, it became an open secret that Cliff had crashed the set and a few other staff members had crashed the set. So they were trying to really figure out how to avoid that altogether. And
do you know what happened on The Hobbit this time? I crashed the set without anybody knowing.
Yeah, you just went.
I just went.
Well, we didn't even tell anybody that you were leaving on a plane.
I have one person who worked at the production company who allowed this to happen for me, and he or she will remain forever nameless, but they are closest to the production, and they got me in under one condition, that I was not reporting for the OneRing.net.
Yeah, so you saw things.
So I saw things that I couldn't report on. Otherwise, I couldn't go. So I went to go visit The Hobbit, and you know what? I'm reporting now, and I've been talking about it ever since I went, because what the hell? I was there on the day. They were shooting that scenes of the river gate right outside of Thranduil's halls.
Yes.
And the orcs come, and Bolg replaced, Azog. At the time, it was still Azog. But I was there when Evangeline Lilly and Orlando Bloom were fighting and doing the fight scenes right on that wall above the portcullis where the river gate was being opened up, and the dwarves were already in the barrels just about 10 feet below. And that was where I was that day.
Yeah, Beaufort's wife says, Gothy and I tried nonstop at Dragon Con to get Larry to blab, but we couldn't. That man is tight-lipped under threat of penalty of death and lawsuit to put you into bankruptcy until your grandkids.
Well, I can.
So that guy is not telling us. So basically, we know the whole movie. We know how it ends. We know the surprise coming up.
We know a lot of stuff that we can't say.
We can't say anything. So
frustrating.
Moyer says, was asking in the chat room, do you still have Barliman's chat in IRC? Yes, we do. If you go to the OneRing.net, there is a place for Barliman's chat.
And we're still using the same IRC technology for Barliman's. If it's not broke, don't fix it.
That's right.
It works really, really well. You can sign in. You can make an easy nickname. You guys can have a great time.
You don't have to download anything this time.
Exactly.
And it's now all in the browser. Before, you had to download MIRC.
Which nobody knew how to do.
And log into a certain server. And if you got the server wrong, then you couldn't join the chat room. And then it was... So we've come a long way to make it easier fans to communicate, but also made it easier for fans to get everything.
Yes.
Without going to the website.
One of the best functions of our website, aside from bringing fans together virtually, we brought fans together in the real world at a variety of events, conventions, public appearances, picnics, parties, and even above that, top-tier Oscar parties, the type of which that the New York Times hailed as the event of the year.
Variety. Well, those came about organically because everyone loved Fellowship of the Ring so much.
Yes.
It was a kind of a last-minute thing. We, some LA fans. Chris was still living here. And
yes,
said,
he was at the time.
We think Lord of the Rings Fellowship it might win an Oscar or two. Let's get together and just watch it together. Let's all get dressed up and pretend to be. So we went to a local pub here in Hollywood, and a few hundred people showed up, and we're like, whoa, there's something here. I mean, because anyone that from online communities know when you try to organize a meetup. Usually you might get 50 people.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter what website or chat room you're in, but the fact that a few hundred people wanted to hang out together, and this was all kind of out of the whim, and people were just like, okay, who's got a credit card with the biggest balance, the biggest option, so we could rent the place. Like it was that style. There was no business organization around the One Ring. It was just like, all right, who's got the most credit that we can use to book a party?
We eventually chose the venue, which is allegedly the most haunted building in all of Los Angeles. The Hollywood Athletic Club, a very, very popular destination that's been there since the 30s and the 40s, with John Barrymore and who else? Errol Flynn, and the great actors.
It was old and haunted and smelly and moldy and
Rudolph
and
Valentino.
It was cheap.
They all went there at the time when it was an athletic club, when they did have a pool and weights back in the 30s and 40s. But most of all, those old style golden age actors were attracted to the bar. And didn't they take John Barrymore's body and prop him up at the bar and put a drink in his hand?
I have no idea.
That's the rumor. After Mr. Barrymore died, I think his drinking buddies dragged him out of the funeral parlor and they propped him up, rigor mortis and all, and they sat him up on the bar, put a drink in his dead hand, and they had one last drink with their buddy. That is one of the great stories. You know that story about the Hollywood Athletic Club?
I don't.
Yes, it's true.
Oh my God.
I also heard that John Wayne was so drunk, he used to go
How drunk was he?
He used to go up to the top level, where the billiard room was, and he would take billiard balls out of the pool table, drop them out the window just to startle people down on the sidewalk below.
That's lethal, dude.
That's quite lethal, yeah.
Back when you can get away with stuff, back when you
Yeah.
could smoke indoors.
Oh, gosh.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Shocking.
But the Hollywood Athletic Club, it's true.
Back when they had pool tables there.
The HAC, as it is known, was a surprise.
Has a forced lease sign on it.
The Hollywood Athletic Club became another magnet for stars from Fellowship of the Ring to show up. Andy Serkis, Sean Astin, Elijah Wood, Billy Boyd, Dominic Monaghan, and who else? Ian McKellen. They all came to our little fan party.
Again, and we had not invited them. Honestly, we had not invited them.
Peter who pushed for it. When Peter found out that the OneRing.net was doing a big Oscar
the fans
party,
were getting together.
he pushed for it, and he said, "You guys are coming with me." And Peter dragged all of them from the theater.
And this is before Twitter, and this is before a lot of them had email addresses that they used. I mean, they were just jobbing actors that just got a big job, but
yes, indeed.
their agents and managers maybe handled all their communication. But so basically, we didn't have direct contact with any of them because they were either in New Zealand or just coming up, and we didn't really have any direct connection as Cliff said. He snuck on set. So everybody that started showing up to our events and our parties, they just showed up. And the One Ring was as surprised as the fans to see them. And not only that, when the first, then the Fellowship and the Two Towers started winning Oscars, these Oscar winners were coming to the parties. Jim Rigel, the visual effects supervisor.
Yeah, he did. Howard Shore,
the
composer,
all of the audio guys, Richard Taylor.
Oh yes.
And so they would they were allowing everybody to hold their Oscars and take a picture. Like For most people, this will be the one and only time they got to hold an Oscar.
Yep, it was my first time ever holding an Oscar. It was Howard Shore's. I asked very gingerly because I wasn't sure how to ask him.
John Howe was there too.
John Howe was so sweet.
Again, these people just showed up,
and so was Alan Lee.
Alan Lee
was so sweet. He was great. And Howard was busy autographing something for someone. He's like, "Sure, go ahead," and he left it on the pool table, the same pool table from which John Wayne would grab pool balls and drop them out the window on people from the 30s or the 40s. But when Howard Shore said, "Go ahead, I don't mind," I went, "Oh my God!" So I went over there and I couldn't pick it up. It was like I was living on the surface of another planet that has stronger force of gravity.
It was like that thing at Disneyland where
so heavy.
The sword and the stone.
I couldn't. It was so heavy, and I picked up that Oscar and I went, "Shit! Wow, that's amazing! Oh my gosh, I'll never hold another one of these again unless I'm really lucky." So I put it back down. And I said, "Thank you, Howard. I'll never forget this." And then we started talking about Rimsky-Korsakov and other great composers of Europe that he really loved. It was really fascinating.
So, and this is before there were conventions everywhere. 15 years ago, there was San Diego Comic-Con when it was still kind of a moderately sized affair of 60,000 people, maybe.
They hadn't even built Hall H yet.
No,
they had not expanded the building back then. When I went, I was the first representative of the OneRing.
And it was a very, very, very lucky opportunity.
Yes, it was.
That the Comic-Con, San Diego Comic-Con said, "Hey, you guys, would you mind talking about the Lord of the Rings on a panel?" So our first panel, I believe, was 2001, 2002, and I think, so the first movie came out in 2001. So did we do a panel that year? I think we did one in the summer of 2001 before Fellowship came out. It was kind of a preview of Fellowship. And this is back in the time where like the highest quality trailer you could get was like 480 by 240. It was like super tiny thing. Remember the first teaser trailer with movie voice guy? That ended with J.R.R. Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings.
I do remember
that.
Oh gosh!
And it was Peter Jackson showing off all these mechanical effects, and he's like, "Now is the time. The technology is caught up."
There was an early previs shot of one of the cave troll. I remember that shot being in there. There was a really, really early previs shot of a cave troll. They have a cave troll, and there it was. And we were like, "Is that Gollum?" Everyone was like, the furious speculation we had about that single creature being in that shot, because we didn't know that there was a cave troll showing up in the chamber of Mazarbul. We didn't know that was going to happen yet.
I wonder if there's any short footage of Stuart Townsend in that first clip.
Like there's a lingering shot of the other Hobbit actor who was replaced. Mr. Rob Kaczynski.
Feely?
Yeah, there's a lingering,
or Keeley. No, Feely.
It was Feely. Before Dino Gorman was on, it was,
Oh, that's right.
Kaczynski.
Yeah.
But you can see Rob Kaczynski standing against the wall with his back to the hearth, and they tried to, dim him out, but you can still see it's Rob Kaczynski as Feely. So how about that? Maybe there are some lingering shots of Stuart Townsend somewhere.
Right.
I'm always curious to see what that footage
looks like. We had much less to work with. And then we started getting all these fashion magazines like Vanity Fair and Vogue doing these photo shoots with Liv Tyler and Elijah Wood and Sean. Yeah. And you had just this amazing editorial landscape of high gloss magazines that had all these Lord of the Rings beautiful photo shoots. And that's why we have so many. That's why I feel like the 15 years ago, when The Lord of the Rings was being filmed and started to be marketed, it feels more magic because there was more magic involved in these high gloss. They were basically taking photos of the actors out of character, right? It was about the actors. It was about, let's put these guys and girls front and center and show that less movie and more talent. Let's sell the talent. Let's sell Andy Serkis as an Academy-nominated, worthy performer. Let's sell Andy. Let's not sell Gollum. Let's not sell this or that. Let's sell these actors as beautiful people that are making great stories. Let's sell this director as a visionary. Let's sell Andy Serkis as a guy worthy of the best thespians, and I feel like that's missing from The Hobbit now. You don't have this kind of focus on the actors of The Hobbit.
In the pre-release publicity?
In the pre-release publicity, and
no,
anytime
all the focus on the actors is in the behind the scenes that you get 11 months later on the extended edition.
Yeah, there's nothing. And every time you see Benedict Cumberbatch or Martin Freeman do one of those fashion poses, it's not to benefit It's not to benefit The Hobbit. It's to benefit some other movie that they're doing. Whether it's Fargo, the TV show, or Star Trek, or any other thing.
I wonder if the Fargo show is any good. I've heard it's quite
amazing.
Good. Is it?
It's amazing.
I've heard
Martin
it's really
Freeman
good.
is
he's always amazing.
With Martin Freeman with an American accent just messes with my head.
I love it. I gotta watch it now. I have to watch it.
The name is on me. He says, I'm in the wrong place to admit it, but I wasn't into Lord of the Rings movies by the time they came out. You love them now. You know, I was the exact opposite. I had never read Tolkien. And I just like 2 months. I saw Fellowship 2 months after it came out. I mean, that's how far removed I was. I was just like, you know what? Let me go see this. So blown away. I ended up seeing Fellowship 12 times in theaters, and
You saw it 12 times?
12 times in theaters. And
I saw it 9 times in theaters. You outviewed me
on Fellowship. Yeah.
On Fellowship of the Ring, he outviewed me in the theaters with the original release of the film. Well done, sir. Right? I didn't believe that was possible. I thought 9 times was the max.
I fell in love so much that I helped organize the 1 week lineup for the Two Towers, where we camped out on the sidewalk to be the first to see Two Towers at midnight. Andy Serkis showed up again, unannounced, uninvited. But news and word spread that me and some crazy fans were lining up in front of a theater here in LA for a week, and so Andy actually showed up and introduced the film and said, "I hope you enjoy what I'm about to do." This was before Andy was Andy, before the Two Towers came out. We hadn't seen Gollum yet, so this is Andy finding fans and reaching out and unannounced and just saying, hey, I hope I did you guys right.
Indeed. Here's a fascinating remark from Tedderus. Thank you, Tedderus. Always adroit. We love you, Tedderus. Here in our chat room, he says, can we implore you guys, Justin and Cliff, to get everyone's stories about the One Ring net and all this history written down? It'd be great to get some interviews with the original founders and everyone else while they still remember it all. Well, actually, Tedderus, a lot of that content has been written down, and it exists in published form. We published a book, 2 books actually. It's called The People's Guide. That's a possessive apostrophe S. The People's Guide to J.R.R. Tolkien, and within those pages you'll find
the history of the site.
An omnibus of great articles representing some of my best work. Articles from Tahanu, Anwin, Ostadan, who does our lore and letters section, and a secret person. His name is still secret. I will not reveal his real identity. And I'm telling you what, you should check out The People's Guide to J.R.R. Tolkien. But I think Tedderus is actually thinking we should have something on the site that represents more of that story. So maybe we should reprint that content.
Well, we have never taken down any content, and you can still go to TheOneRing.net, go to the old site or the archives or something like that, and we have every post, every discussion that we've ever had on the website is still there. So you can still see on TheOneRing.net when we posted about Ian McKellen and his 1,500-word response to all of the fans that were angry that Gandalf was going to be gay because they had cast a gay actor, and the fans were furious.
Yes, there was
furious.
There was a homophobic, crazy backlash.
Gandalf is not gay. He was never meant to be gay. How dare they? He is. Ian McKellen will ruin Lord of the Rings, and we hate Peter Jackson for casting him.
Boy.
This is true. So when we hear about Toriel and Evangeline Lilly and ruining the movies and whatever else that the stuff that people are talking about The Hobbit, you guys have no idea. Some of you may remember that this was happening.
The oversensitivity of a certain quadrant of fans.
It was loud, but it was nonstop.
The nature of the internet was new. It gave them loudness.
Yes.
Their voices had never had that volume before.
Yep.
Before the internet, before this type of not marketplace, but this kind
communication,
of community space, this community and this open forum, including the IRC chat and our message boards, which are still wildly popular. That was the first time that kind of quadrant of oversensitive fans had a mouthpiece, and they did. They had TheOneRing.net as a mouthpiece. I do remember that.
And it became so loud
Yeah.
that Ian McKellen himself penned a word, and there's been very few posts from him directly, where he actually, puts real thought and consideration and addresses the issue as eloquently as this man is.
He addressed it on McKellen.com. I was working on a side job at McKellen.com, and the brilliant webmaster, who is our friend Keith Stern, he's right across the street, right there. Here's Meltdown Comics, where we are every week at Meltdown. Literally across the street, upstairs, is my old commercial agent and McKellen.com, which is coincidentally the home of Serkis.com, Serkis. Hello, Mr. Northrup. We love you, man.
Andy Serkis is
and SeanAston.com is also housed at the same offices, right across the street from us. And on McKellen.com, Ian felt he needed to address this. He really did. And he had a book called The Gray Book.
Yeah.
It was called The Gray Book because he was Gandalf the Grey. And that was his online blog with all of his comments and thoughts about the process and the filming from New Zealand. Then in The Two Towers, when he changed to Gandalf the White, Keith had him change his blog to The White Book. And that was the place where he posted his comments there, too. I remember that.
So there's been a history of fandoms reacting, whether it's like, there's no girls in The Hobbit, like, why are we changing this?
Yeah.
How about the Two Towers trailer where they spoiled the return of Gandalf? Like, every fan went, they're like, veins exploded out of people's heads. They're like, oh my God, you just spoiled
major
spoiled of all spoils. And spoil of spoils and spoils.
Game of Thrones producers also accidentally did a major spoiler with one of their behind-the-scenes shots that came out recently.
But this was the trailer.
You have no idea.
This was the trailer, and little do we know that the opening scene of Two Towers was going to be that.
Look, I think a behind-the-scenes publicity photo and a trailer are in the same compartment. It's like it's pre-release publicity still, and spoilers abound. I have to say, though, one of the best things that New Line Cinema ever did at the time, they re-released Fellowship of the Ring in theaters with the special, 6 or 7 minute preview of the Two Towers.
At the end of the credits.
It was Peter Jackson's idea to add a coda at the end credits. So go back to theaters and see Fellowship one more time, and the Two Towers special treat, not a real trailer, not even a final format
they should do
trailer.
That right now.
They didn't even have the color grading corrected.
I know.
It was all raw stuff, and it was great. It blew us away.
Hi, Araceli. TF Drums and Tetris are talking about the green books and some of the great content on our site. Again, all of our 15 years of content are still housed at TheOneRing.net. Just look for the archives or the old site. But TheOneRing.net has always been fan volunteers. Again, the site was started by 4 people. One person had their credit card to buy the domain here in LA and pay for the servers.
Yes.
And we're still kind of like everybody pays their way, and we hope to sell some T-shirts at conventions so we can pay for our hotels and our gas money.
Yeah.
That's how we get to do all these panels and conventions. But the One Ring is still a fan-run website. Everybody is a fan, a volunteer editor.
Yep.
We never ask more of anybody than they're willing to give.
Yes.
And opportunities come up, whether it's a press junket in New York, or an interview with an actor in Sweden, or a premiere here in LA, or a set visit for a Q&A, or a Comic-Con panel. So there's a lot of opportunities that just make life fun. But I love your idea here. In the chat room, people are saying you guys should elevate some of this old content from Green Books. We agree.
Thank you.
And we want you to do it because all of us have committed, time to doing this podcast, which we just do. We just started doing, and then we just keep doing at great expense and energy every week. And then Happy Hobbits, of course, did their live stream this weekend. Josh, a.k.a. Saruman, is doing his Sunday show, the Torn Book Club. So everybody's doing this out of a passion for for a shared love of Tolkien. And if you have a good idea,
that's really the
and
most
you want to,
thing.
and if you think other people would appreciate elevating some of that old content, and maybe wrapping it around with a new opening paragraph that kind of gives context and appreciation, please email Cliff or someone. And
well, I'm hardly the best guy to get a timely response from. And Tedros, as you know,
email me, Justin at TheOneRing.
As other people out there know, Tedros has written some great brand new library pieces, some great and very thoughtful articles that Tedros has provided for TheOneRing.net. But I'm very, very, very bad about writing back to people and getting things organized in a timely way. So if you guys have some new content, certainly send it to spymaster at TheOneRing.net or to Justin at TheOneRing.net or to QuickBeam at TheOneRing.net, and we'll figure something out.
If you have time,
eventually.
Again, what we tell everybody is that the One Ring is a functional site. The One Ring is a functional site, and everybody wants to see content on a regular basis. So if you have the time to put into a once day post or a once weekly post, please commit to it and do it. We started doing this and we're still doing it. And you never see any sponsor ads or anything except for the Justin TV commercials, but that's not us. So basically, the One Ring, 15 years as a fan site, we're still going. If you check out our Facebook page and our Twitter account at the One Ring Net on Facebook, on Twitter, and Instagram, we'll keep posting old pictures. And,
yes, we should.
We're digging into our past and reliving some of our most favorite moments on Facebook and Twitter.
In alignment with what you just said, and it's not so often I say something in alignment with Justin.
There's nothing aligned with him. I got nothing.
Let me let me talk.
The platform is yours.
Lieutenant Gothy. Hi, Gothy. I'm going to give you a grand before the show is over. She's got a great idea. Look at this.
What happened?
She says, wait a minute. Wait, I was just looking at it, but the scrolling has gone past so fast.
You're stressing me out. 530-64-Frodo. 530-64-Frodo.
Gothy, she just said it would be a really great idea to edit together some of the very best moments of Torn Tuesday and edit together a special looking back at all the stuff we've done with guests, with crazy moments. Don't you think we should put something like that together?
I think
like a great composite of everything we've done.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've done this for 2 years.
We just need time.
It's April.
I know. We just need time.
We're on our 2-year anniversary of Torn Tuesday live. Next week it will be our anniversary. Will it not?
Way.
April. We're on the cusp of April.
Are we?
It's going to be our 2-year anniversary on Torn Tuesday live.
I don't like anniversaries.
I do. I love bon anniversaire. I love anniversaries, don't you guys? All right, we need to really think about this. I'll put down some hours with you to put together a good edit.
Whatever.
The
computer's right there. Go ahead.
Well, are you going to give me access to the files?
All the files
you want to teach me how to do Final Cut Pro?
All the files are on YouTube. you guys can edit it. We've put all of our content on YouTube on a Creative Commons license. So if you want to re-edit and remix all of the One Ring,
so you want one of the fans
videos
out there to do an edit of all of our archives?
It is yours to make. Again, the One Ring is by fans for fans. So everything we do, you guys can redo and remix, and everybody knows that there's sites to download YouTube videos. So there's ways of
there are ways
pulling your favorite episodes down. So everything's on our YouTube channel that is meant to be. But coming up to,
I love Gothy's idea. Love that idea, Gothy.
So there are many more Star Wars connections. It's not just Andy Serkis now in Star Wars Episode 7, possibly Episode 8 and 9 as well. And I imagine Andy will be a part of the ongoing Star Wars universe.
That picture that you just posted on our Facebook timeline, it's a great black and white photo, and I'm going to talk about why is that behind-the-scenes photo of Han, Luke, Leia, and there's Chewbacca, and in the box right behind them there's R2-D2 in the box right there, and there's J.J. Abrams, the whole cast of Star Wars 7 all around him. There's a reason why that picture was offered to us in black and white. Because it is meant to evoke nostalgia of the late 70s, when we got other behind the scenes and secret set photos that were offered in black and white. At the time, that was kind of a thing. And you know what?
Up until a few years ago, that all production photos were black and white.
Yeah, the entire cast is in that picture. But to see Mark Hamill sitting next to Andy Serkis blows my mind. It's like the coolest thing. It's the coolest thing.
Well, and not.
I love Andy as a voiceover artist. I love Mark Hamill as a voiceover artist.
Yes.
The greatest Joker voiceover that Warner Brothers Animation ever could dream of. Mark Hamill is amazing beyond what he did as Luke Skywalker. And he's sitting right there next to Andy Serkis. And who's right across the way from him? There's Harrison Ford. There's Carrie Fisher. I'm out of my mind. It's so cool. And what's really funny? Anthony Daniels sitting right next to Andy Serkis. What's the Tolkien connection? Well, as you can see in that really beautiful little meme that I created, and I put that meme up on theonering.net, and it's on my Twitter. You can find it. It's the ultimate Tolkien Star Wars mashup. The voice of Legolas, who was Anthony Daniels, does C-3PO. He was Legolas in the 1978 Ralph Bakshi film. And guess what? He's sitting next to Gollum. I just love it. Legolas and Gollum. Now working on a new Star Wars film. I love it.
There's more connections to Star Wars. But, I mean, Christopher Lee.
Brilliant.
Who was Count Dooku in the second and third Star Wars films.
An enigmatic separatist. That's how he is. His character was only described as 2 words. So enigmatic separatist.
So Christopher Lee got to wield a lightsaber in an epic battle with Anakin Skywalker.
So badass.
And then he did a wizard battle with freaking
yeah.
Like how great is that? Also,
Christopher Lee is so brilliant.
Who played the mouth of Sauron? Remember that guy?
Yes, I do. What was his name? Jack. The character.
Go to the chat room. So
he was in all the Mad Max movies as the crazy pilot who was helping out.
He's got this
Mad
mouth
Max.
that is just amazing. So not only was he the mouth of Sauron in the extended edition Return of the King, but he was also in Episode 3 of Star Wars. He was that striped guy on the planet that Obi-Wan goes to. You know, where Obi-Wan rides that big green lizard thing?
Yes.
Or was that Episode 2? No, it was Episode 3.
Was he?
But he was a striped thing. The guy who's working with the General Grievous, I forget that. I think Matt or something.
Bruce Spence.
Thank
you. It was Bruce Spence. I thought that he was
in both.
He was a great supporting comedic character in Mad Max.
Yep.
And Beyond Thunderdome, he was in that film too. But Bruce Spence ended up being one of those unfortunate performances that nobody saw in The Return of the King because his scenes were cut from the theatrical version.
But he made it into the extended edition.
Yes, he did. And so did the amazing demise of Saruman. That final moment where Saruman meets his ultimate fate, and so does Wormtongue, that was added back into the extended edition of ROTK. It is the most brilliant 12 minutes of footage. It should have stayed.
I don't know about that.
It should have stayed. Do you know why it's brilliant? Because it's all original dialogue.
Why is it brilliant?
It's original Tolkien dialogue.
Okay.
It wasn't something that the writers messed around with. It's exact dialogue from the book, from Tolkien's original. That's why it's brilliant.
You know, there were a couple other connections. I believe Jed Brophy was in Star Wars Episode 2.
Was he? Attack of the Clones?
I believe Jed
Doing
Brophy.
what?
Because Jed Brophy was in Lord of the Rings, right?
Yes.
2 Towers.
Yeah.
He was some of the orcs, right? Or the goblins. He was goblins. Yeah.
Yeah. They don't need them.
That's
what
him.
about their legs?
That's him, right?
They don't need them. Yeah, that was him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that was Jed Brophy.
I'm pretty sure Jed did some.
I don't think it was Jed's voice though.
Maybe really tiny background characters or something like that in Star Wars, because they filmed Star Wars in Australia.
Yeah, that's right. They did.
So it was just kind of like.
And Tunisia.
And Tunisia. But the prequels were shot on stages, both in UK, but also in Australia and New Zealand. Yeah. And so there was a lot of visual effects and actors that would do Lord of the Rings, and then do Star Wars, and then do Lord of the Rings pickups, and then do Star Wars 2, and then do Lord of the Rings pickups, and then do Star Wars 3. So there was a period where people were living down there for like 5 or 6 years, the visual effects artists that were doing motion capture or special effects on Lord of the Rings. Then they'd finish their scene, and then they'd jump over on Star Wars for a few months.
Yeah.
And then they'd jump back. So there was this community that was being built around Star Wars and Lord of the Rings. It's not just actors. It's not just these weird connections like, oh, you just got another job. It's like, no, there's a direct community of on audio and special effects and visual effects and sound recordings and everything like that. You know, a lot. I believe some of the instrument players that were on Howard Shore's orchestrations in Lord of the Rings then moved on and did stuff with the London Philharmonic for Star Wars under John Williams. So you have a lot of cross-pollination of energy between Lord of the Rings. Because if you think about it, Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers came out in 2002. Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, came out in 2002. The Matrix 2 and 3 came out in 2002. Bruce Spence was in Matrix 2. That's right.
Indeed he was. Bruce Spence was.
Bruce Spence was the train maker, the train conductor. The Bruce Spence, when Keanu gets stuck in that white train station,
that empty subway station,
empty subway station,
yes.
And it is limbo.
Yeah,
it is meant to. It's the middle ground between the living and the dead. Like that is purgatory.
Yeah.
That's actually it's just limbo. Bruce Spence.
Limbo. Purgatory and limbo are two different concepts.
Yes. Limbo.
Even in any metaphysical conversation, we know this. But anyways, yes.
And so Bruce Spence was the train guy.
He always gets these small roles on the side. But
who else? What about who was freaking who's I feel like there was another guy in Star Wars that was in Lord of the Rings. King of the Elves? No, he was in Matrix.
Oh no, it was Richard Armitage.
Yes,
believe it or not, it was Richard Armitage. Thorin, definitely not in Lord of the Rings.
He was the security detail for Queen Amidala.
Yes, well, yes.
Richard Armitage.
That was Richard Armitage.
One of his very first screen roles.
A young, beardless, silent Richard Armitage. How could you cast someone like that and not use his voice? And there's Richard Armitage standing behind Padme.
I think he has a speaking role, but it was way early.
He doesn't even have an under 5.
Really?
He does not have a line of dialogue.
Oh, that's right. The black dude was the one that was always talking to Queen.
He wasn't black. He was Maori.
Maori, yes.
Thank you, God.
And I think he was. That guy was also in Lord of the Rings. He was an orc.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah.
It's all coming together now.
So that's.
So there's a lot of the. Yeah. Definitely. We're so geeking out today.
All right. So there's
it is kind of like the best of our favorite things: Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, Hobbit, and all these great talented people coming together on this. It's kind of cool in a capital C kind of way. It's just really cool.
Who is the main warg rider?
Hold on. The main warg rider? Oh, that was Jed. The main warg rider took a little tumble off the cliff. That was Jed Brophy, I think. That was Jed Brophy.
That's right.
He took a little tumble off the cliff. Anyways, Twitter is trending that J.J. Abrams has a lot more casting surprises for Star Wars Episode 7 that have not even been announced yet. Aside from that major, ring around the campfire photo that has now gone so viral today. Have you seen it, Mr. Northrop? Have you seen the new cast photo of Episode 7? You haven't seen it?
Wait, hold on.
This is last week's special guest,
Hi.
Chris Northrop, DC Comics artist and illustrator.
Stop it. You introduced him last year. Just ask him a question.
Last week. He's brilliant, by the way.
If you see me.
Yeah.
You know who I am. All right. Seriously.
Yeah.
I thought this was a Lord of the Rings podcast. What are you talking about?
Well, Lord of the Rings and Star Wars, there's so many connections. We're going through all of the connections.
Don't these people want to hear about Lord of the Rings, though?
Well, we're telling them how Lord of the Rings is connected
Everyone's
to Star
excited
Wars.
about Andy Serkis being in this room with Luke and Leia and Han.
Yeah, he was really good in King Kong.
Right?
Yeah.
And Godzilla.
He was really in it, like him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he
I
was.
hope he doesn't play
That's
as
what I
good
said.
as he is as a CG
He's
character. He's great.
Exactly.
Did you see the
but
Prestige?
I'd like to see him play a
It's
character
my favorite.
for real.
Yeah. He plays Tesla's assistant in The
Prestige. Quite a little director too.
He's
The showrunner.
He was directing second unit when I was visiting the Hobbit set
I'm sure
that
he
day.
was. Yeah.
And that was brilliant watching Andy work because he's calm and he's funny. And when you've got a lot of sweaty, angry actors who are wearing bad prosthetics and they're uncomfortable and they're doing their own fight scenes, Andy has a way of keeping them calm and keep the actors working. He's very good.
I think there's enough people in that photo to keep
everyone's in this picture.
You know,
everyone.
The studio in check.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
I think there's enough weight in that photo from the creatives and actors that they could keep it in check.
So this explains.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw that this morning. I was like, wow.
And this explains why Andy Serkis now has a Twitter. Because it's being run by Disney's marketing people.
That's right.
And wait a minute.
It's verified him.
Verified when Andy
Day one,
he was verified out of the gate. Sean Astin waited for months to get verified by Twitter. Andy Serkis is instantly verified the moment he comes out.
He's a major player now, man.
Power of Disney.
Yeah.
It's not some
seriously.
small time dude.
What if
seriously.
Andy's being set up to direct episode 8 or 9?
Whoa, dude, geekasm!
I hope it's not the same
that would be
director
great.
for all three of them.
No. After J.J. Abrams does one, he should let Andy direct one.
Walk out.
Yeah, let someone else in the fold.
You hear that, JJ? Walk out.
Do you know who?
Walk away.
Wait a minute.
Do your best and then walk away.
Look who's sitting next to J.J. Abrams. It's Lawrence Kasdan.
Oh, good.
Lawrence Kasdan sitting right. They co-wrote that
I love
together.
Dreamcatcher.
Isn't it? Oh, shut up. Get out of here. Ladies and gentlemen, Chris Northrup, buy a copy of The Reason for Dragons. It's a great graphic novel. You'll love his work. Now, onward with the show.
Do you think they're going to have any dragons in Star Wars?
It might be. There might be some creatures that are dragon-y, dragon-type creatures, maybe.
Do you think Star Wars should have creatures? The prequels had creatures. The originals didn't really.
There's tons. There's a creature in the trash compactor.
But you never see it.
There's a creature in the trash compactor, and you do see it.
Make it real, no CG.
They get attacked by it visibly. It's a gross, slimy worm thing with an eye.
That'd be nuts.
Serkis
makes Star Wars, right? Serkis directing Star Wars would be mind-blowing.
It would be brilliant. Brilliant.
Like, if they're going to give him the opportunity to do a Planet of the Apes or Star Wars, give him a Star Wars under the producer Lawrence Kasdan.
Can I say a word about? We don't know what the new Planet of the Apes film is going to be like, but the one that Andy did 3 years ago with none other than James Franco is really a damn good movie. It is solid. The writing, the script on Rise of the Planet of the Apes is just whoa. It's so good. It's so good.
Wasn't there some? There were many other actors.
Loved it.
That were in both Lord of the Rings and Star Wars. And so what we're trying to get at is that everything that you see in The Hobbit, all the actors, characters, orcs, whatever, keep a lookout because they might show up in Star Wars.
I bet you Jed Brophy is going to be in some Star Wars movie somewhere in there, and maybe that's some of the rumors we're hearing that J.J. Abrams, the director, has not finished all of his casting announcements, and I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, you know,
I wouldn't be surprised.
Rumor has it Billy D. Williams has been approached but hasn't been scheduled yet.
Rumor has it.
So, and here's to add a little weight to that rumor of Lando Calrissian showing up in episode 7 or 8.
Did he redeem himself in episode 6, though?
I don't know.
You know these characters as well as I do. Did Lando Calrissian redeem himself?
I think Lando is a business guy. I think he would have sold his options in Bespin and started a new outpost. Maybe with Andy Serkis's character. And so maybe they team up or something.
Leading to another question, did Wormtongue redeem himself when he stabbed Saruman?
Wasn't he in Star Wars?
Brad Dourif?
Wasn't he in episode 2?
No, Brad Dourif does not appear in any Star Wars anywhere.
I thought, didn't Brad Dourif do the big guy at the beginning of episode 2 where they're in the diner and it's that big alien?
Oh, the guy who runs the diner. Yeah, the cook.
The cook.
And young Obi-Wan goes to visit the cook at the greasy little diner, and the robot waitress says, "Someone here to see you," and she runs off with coffee. I like that little droid. She's funny. It reminds me of my favorite waitress. No, Brad Dourif is not in any Star Wars film, though he should be. Oscar nominee Brad Dourif. You know he got an Oscar nomination from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest?
That was like 40 years ago, man.
Yeah, but Brad Dourif is still an Oscar nominee beyond that. So whatever.
So, but Billy D. Williams, the rumor, here's how to strengthen the rumor. Billy D. Williams was on Dancing with the Stars, which is owned by ABC, which is owned by Disney. Disney's doing Star Wars. Disney was testing his marketability on whether they should bring him back, because they know all the other actors were definitely fan favorites, but Disney was testing Billy D's star power by putting him on Dancing with the Stars, even though that guy can't dance worth a thing. And turns out that every episode that Billy D. Williams was on Dancing with the Stars, he was the only thing that trended. Like if you go to all the blogs, all the Twitters, the Yahoos, OMG Pops, all they wanted to talk about was Billy D. Williams, and that has given Disney the confidence enough to say, "Yep, let's pay his fee and bring him back."
You think so?
I think so. I think Dancing with the Stars proved his marketability.
Fascinating. That is fascinating. Well, Billy D. Williams is still very cool. He's still
Billy D. Williams was also on Modern Family, a Disney show.
Yeah, well, yeah, ABC owns everything on that channel, which is Disney. Disney is ABC.
Yeah. So he is in the Disney house. And
guess who else is in the Disney house? Hayao Miyazaki. He's in the Disney house. I just had to do it. Just once, just to mess you up. But you know what? Miyazaki is not going to show up in any Star Wars films. Sorry, just gotta say that. Do you guys in the chat room want us to turn on Skype? We'll do that. I'll turn Skype on my phone, and perhaps we can get some international calls and have a little chat with some of our fans.
So the question is that
we have a lot more to talk about.
The hype was real when Episode 1 was coming out. No movie will ever be more anticipated than Star Wars Episode 1: The Phantom Menace was.
That's
the
true.
Hype was real, and then when
no
it was a
movie
when
ever
when it was a disappointment, it tempered the energy going into Lord of the Rings. Because Lord of the Rings was starting to build.
That's true.
And then when Episode 1 came out, it was like, all right, this is a trilogy. Star Wars is a trilogy. Lord of the Rings is a trilogy. Sci-fi director, digital character, the greatest story of all time, the greatest book of all time.
Yes.
There were like the same actor here, the same actor there. There were so many parallels, creative parallels between Star Wars and Lord of the Rings, that when Episode 1 was a turkey, and Lord of the Rings was like, all right, let's take a closer look at Peter Jackson. Okay, bad taste. Oh my God, we're gonna get Jar Jar 2.
A lot of people were worried about Peter Jackson's background doing zombie splatter films. I liked The Frighteners. It was entertaining. It was
entertaining.
But it needed to be tightened up in the third act. The script wandered around a little bit, but it was entertaining.
Who knew that was going to be the rest of his movies?
Thank you. Yes, indeed. But what you saw in Dead Alive, which was the American title release of Brain Dead, and what you saw in Dead Alive, and what you saw in the other splatter films that Peter did, never gave an indication of what he could do with an epic romantic fantasy. We were just as surprised as everyone else that the Fellowship of the Ring blew everyone away. That special segment that they showed at the Cannes Film Festival, and that was a Miramax arrangement. It was Harvey Weinstein who arranged all that. And Peter was like, okay, I'll prepare this big Minds of Moria sequence.
Now why does Harvey Weinstein have anything to do, because he was Miramax and this was a New Line film. Why does Harvey Weinstein have anything to do with Lord of the Rings?
Because Fran and Peter, went to Miramax first. And the deal was, we'll keep our name on it and we'll help you rotate it around to other people, but we're not going to produce it.
So they didn't want to commit to 3 movies.
Yeah, so when you look and see Harvey Weinstein's name in the credits of the original Lord of the Rings trilogy, it was only because of an old piece of paper that they had before Barry Osborne and Mark Ordesky really picked it up with New Line.
They first optioned it, Miramax first optioned it, and said, you know what, we believe in this movie, and then they couldn't come to terms on the budget, and they said, you know what, Miramax just can't shoulder a $300 million budget.
And they said, you take it to someone else who'll
shoulder it. Take it to someone else, we'll help out.
We'll help out. That was the deal. So an old piece of paper gives you Harvey Weinstein's name on the Lord of the Rings.
And he still has a piece of The Hobbit to this day. And in fact,
Isn't that strange?
That's the lawsuit that happened in December.
Yes.
And this is why one of the reasons we theorized that The Hobbit 3 got renamed to something that's not in the book because
oh my gosh,
there's a lot of contract stuff. But anyway, Harvey Weinstein has a piece of it. But here's and everyone thinks Harvey Weinstein, like, what does he just collects a check. He got like he screwed the filmmakers out of stuff. He's just cashing in on doing no work. Here's what I will tell you, that we just spent a half hour talking about how great the marketing was for Lord of the Rings. They were all in glossy magazines. You had these wonderful interviews. They were accessible. The actors would show up to screenings. They would show up to conventions and talk to us. They came to our Oscar parties. They went to Cannes.
Yes.
Like you saw them in Vanity Fair and you saw them in Entertainment Weekly, and they all were enthusiastic and they had beautiful photos, and they had fashion photographers shoot.
Yes.
That's Harvey Weinstein.
Yes.
Harvey Weinstein knows marketing, and so when The Hobbit came around and they cut him out of everything, you know, and said, we're just going to send you a check, but stay out of this.
Yeah.
And New Line had been dissolved, and so all the Gordon Patterson and all those guys at New Line are not involved.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
that's why we feel that the marketing has been a lot less. And I think with good marketing, we would appreciate the movies more, because it would put the movies in a context, prepare us for what we're about to see. That's what good marketing does. It prepares you for what you're about to see. And instead of just going, let's introduce Tauriel. Okay, let the fans hash it out. They'll still go see the movie anyway. Whereas before, you felt that, you know, some sneak pics of Arwen at Helm's Deep. Let's reconsider this and let's do something about it.
One of those picks was Arwen was Liv Tyler realizing that this scene isn't going to work, and she was going over to the table where Philippa Boyens and Peter Jackson were sitting, and it was a shot that I remember very clearly.
Yeah.
Liv Tyler was going over there with her sword and her costume, and she was over there at the table pointing at the script and having this intense conversation with Peter, who was like this, you know, in the shot. And Fran and Philippa were at the table. They're trying to figure out, what are we going to do? And it was then that they decided to bring in Haldir. So they wanted elves to show up at Helm's Deep because Peter thought that was a really nice touch to have elves help out the world of men, at least a little bit, because it doesn't happen elsewhere.
That's why Haldir shows up and then he dies.
And then he dies. But
he's in and out before he can affect that many scenes.
And it also helps Aragorn to not see Arwen until his coronation. You know, it really sweetens up that moment that, you know, and Aragorn has been worried that her fate has been so badly affected because of the weird visions that Sauron gave him in the Palantir. Sauron gave Aragorn fearful visions of Arwen's untimely death. Of course, Sauron was just messing around and trying to, you know, mess up Aragorn's brave approach to things.
The coolest armor in the whole trilogy. Again, Haldir, because he was a late edition add-on, and they had already filmed everything, and this was for pickups, the artisans that, you know, were basically done with all the grunt work of making hundreds of chainmails. They're like, Haldir, new character? Ooh, let's put a little extra effort into this.
A little extra something.
And then
something.
look at his armor.
It's fantastic.
The extra time was shown. So there's just a lot that we've seen over 15 years, that we've seen the trends go high and low. We've seen a lot of parallels of what's happening now with The Hobbit and going into the third movie. There was a lot of debate over, you know, how come, where are the ghosts of the dead? You know, where you know, where is that going into Return of the King? You know, who's playing that and what and where? There was a lot of debate. You know, is Peter going to take this out of Return of the King? You know, is it going to be a shorter movie? So we've had a lot of debates, you know, with the original trilogy going all the way back.
Yes.
That are parallel to the debates that we're having now with The Hobbit, and so
they are quite parallel.
And at the end of the day, Lord of the Rings was an amazing trilogy when you see them all together.
Very much amazing. Now, will we get the same sensations when we watch all 6 movies of Hobbit and Lord of the Rings together?
I think so.
And that is the bigger plan.
I think so.
It is almost time for us to talk about the one remaining news item that we haven't talked about. Aside from a heartfelt thank you to all of you guys following us for 15 years, I can't say more than that, but really, thank you. Thank you guys. You're the best audience ever. But
yes.
we have a new title. What do you guys think about the title change? Everything has been branded.
The Hobbit, The Battle of the Five Armies.
Is there an extra the?
There's 3 thes.
Why did they put a the in it?
There's 3 thes.
Well, I think Professor Tolkien only refers to it as the Battle of 5 Armies. There is not an extra the.
Let me ask you this.
So that's a mistake.
If you go
that's
back...
technically a mistake.
If you go back to the movie poster for Return of the King, does it say The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King?
Yes, it does. It's been done before.
So it's not just ROTK. It's The Return of the King.
I want to go back to 1988, and you'll remember Greystoke, The Legend of Tarzan,
I love
Lord of the Apes. You know how many subtitles that movie had? And everyone lambasted.
The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King.
Everyone lambasted, Greystoke, because they're like, oh, this is ridiculous. Too many subtitles, too many notes. Too many notes.
I think this is perfect. I think The Battle of the Five Armies is an excellent parallel to Return of the King. And
you think? Well, Peter Jackson revealed this news late last week on his Facebook page with another production diary. Didn't he put a production diary up?
No, it was just a post.
Just a post?
Yeah, Facebook.
And the response from fandom has been...
The Bofa.
What?
Yeah, Bofa, Battle of Five Armies. Bofa sounds like Bofer. That's fine.
We actually had an acronym already established within fan circles. It was TABA. T-A-B-A. Everything was...
I agree with this change, though.
Was T-A-B-A, and if you wrote A-U-J, you knew what movie you were talking about. If you put down R-O-T-K, everybody knows what movie you're talking about. And we've been getting used to the idea of using TABA. Now we have to change there and back again to letters and a numeral. It will be B-O-5-A, Battle of Five Armies. If you want to add the extra article the, it'll be B-O-T numeral 5-A. BOT5A.
Fashina is right in front of you on that. BOT5A.
That's right, yeah, that's right. BOT5A.
You know, I posted, when the news came out on Thursday morning, I instantly posted that there and back again. I said, Throwback Thursday, hashtag Throwback Thursday, and a lot of fans didn't get it. And some of them did and said, too soon.
Too soon.
Throwback Thursday to the title that was just changed.
What do you guys think of the title change? If I was working in the marketing department, or if I was working in licensing, and I was making toys and action figures, and if I had to change every damn one of my packages, because my packages previously said,
remember when
there
they
and back again?
Remember when they changed?
I have to change it.
Remember when Tariel and all her figure, the toys came out before the movie came out?
Tariel Legolas double action figure set.
Yep.
Pulled off the shelves.
Pulled off the shelves. Remember when Bolg became just a Gundabad orc?
Yes, yeah. Like Gundabad orc. Yes, that's amazing.
Like, but the Bolg toy was awesome. So,
well, in terms of actual plot, there isn't much else that happens in the remainder of the story. You know, the dragon is still left alive, which was my deepest frustration with the Desolation of Smaug film.
Misty Kari, I agree with you. I don't care as long as it's not into the fire. I agree.
Into the fire. Oh, please. So, Smaug is going to attack Lake Town, and after the dragon is dealt with, we're going to have the Battle of the Five Armies, and then that's the end of the story. That's it. There isn't much more, even from Peter and Fran and Philippa trying to inject more content from the appendices. Maybe they can, maybe they will, but there's not much more left to the plot. So
there's a lot to add in there. Like you could send
title.
Gandalf to go out on his quest to find Gollum with
The
Aragorn.
Hunt for Gollum. You know what? The Hunt for Gollum is a whole separate title. It's a separate fan film. It's a separate game module. If you buy
extended universe, as they call in the Star Wars world.
An extended universe. But if you buy the living card game, you can buy a separate card game called The Hunt for Gollum, and it's just those characters hunting for Gollum, and that's the game.
You could send the dwarves on their mission to Moria, reclaim Moria.
Well,
you could have Bilbo lugging all of that treasure back.
When I asked Adam Brown about that in one of our excellent interviews with Adam Brown, who plays Ori, I said, so do we get some footage of you and Ken Stott and guys getting together in Erebor, and Ken Stott plays Balin. Are we going to see Balin and Owen and Ori and you guys? You're going to go down there? Go down to Moria? Are we going to see any of that in the third film? And he went like this. I'm not saying.
It'd be rad.
But the way that he said that made me feel like there was something he wanted to say.
You know how Smaug inadvertently relit the kilns?
Yes, that's funny.
You know that would be
I remember
cool
that.
if the dwarves ride Smaug into Moria.
If they just ride on the back of the dragon before he ends up being killed.
And he reignites the Balrog, and then there's a Balrog and a dragon fight. It'd be like Godzilla, but in Middle Earth. Like it'd be like Balrog versus dragon, Mothra versus Godzilla.
He's been smoking too much. He's been
Godzilla.
smoking too much of
can't
those
wait for
Malorn
Godzilla.
leaves. Malorn leaves. If you take Malorn leaves from Lothlorien and if you dry them up and crumble them in a grinder and put them in a little glass pipe, you end up acting like this. Stop smoking those Malorn leaves.
What if
I'm
Legolas
telling
dies
you.
and is replaced by evil Legolas clone with a
Nuts.
lightsaber, and he goes, no.
No! Well, Thorin did that. Thorin did that vocalization right there in the Desolation of Smaug.
So thank
don't
you,
even...
TF Drums. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. It's been 15 years that we've been doing this.
I can't believe it's been 15 years, really.
It's crazy. If you want to follow along, we've got a week-long full of content and celebrations on Twitter and Facebook. #Torn15. Also, I don't know if you saw on the OneRing.net.
Thank you, Tedros.
We've got a contest running right now. You can win a signed Desolation poster, 27 by 40, full sheet Desolation of Smaug poster, signed by 5 people. Right?
Right.
Gandalf, Martin, Evangeline, Richard, and one of the others. So we're just giving that away, but you have to take
really
a
nice.
clever picture of your Desolation of Smaug DVD or Blu-ray. So go into a canyon, go into a dark cave, throw it in a pile of gold coins, maybe some of those gold chocolate coins that you get at Christmas time or something like that, and just take some clever pictures of your Desolation DVD.
Yeah.
And we're just gonna give it away. It's
Excellent.
an amazing prize. I wish I don't even have a poster with that many signatures.
That's kind of brilliant. It really is brilliant. And
Yeah.
to answer Tandy 007, no Silmarillion.
Yes.
No, never.
Not until Christopher Tolkien passes on.
Well, even after, and please, I don't want to wish anything like that upon Christopher
No,
Tolkien.
no. I'm just saying that's.
But when that happens,
He's staked
there are
his claim.
still other hands involved in the Tolkien estate that will never allow the Silmarillion or its content to be licensed for any other storytelling or adaptation for movies
You know what's
or
gonna happen
animation
before then?
or TV shows. I'm sorry, but it is the most frequently asked question. When are they going to make the Silmarillion now that The Hobbit is done?
You know what's going
It's
to happen
just
before
not-
then
it's
is
not gonna happen.
J.R.R. Tolkien's Beowulf. I guarantee you that J.R.R. Tolkien's Beowulf will become a film.
I don't know,
Or a TV show.
The motion capture animated version of Beowulf that was created by
Christopher.
No, the guy who directed Forrest Gump and
Yeah.
Cast Away. You know that director? Smack my head. I'm trying to remember the
Columbus. No,
name. Not
not
Chris Columbus. Anyway, that version of Beowulf didn't make a lot of money and didn't make a big impact.
well, it cost a lot of money, but I'm saying
It
if
had
you
a
retype- I know.
naked Angelina Jolie, and they still
was
couldn't make their
CG.
money back.
If you license J.R.R. Tolkien
Where's my brain today?
Beowulf, there's a new movie with enough information to make it a whole new thing. So
Wait. Who was the director of? I know this. He directed Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Cast Away. Zemeckis. Yes, thank you, Robert Zemeckis.
Gothy, I said it at the same time.
Thank you,
did.
Robert Zemeckis. If Robert Zemeckis can make a really
Tauriel is Gothmog. You know how orcs are just spoiled? Yeah, remember they say that in Fellowship of the Ring. Orcs are just spoiled elves. They were spoiled and beaten. So what if Gothmog is actually a Tauriel that's just beaten to all?
No.
She's been turned into this monstrosity of pelts
No.
and warts. Yes.
You're talking about
Yes!
the most stupid. That's stupid. What? What are you talking about? The original Dark Lord, Morgoth, he created the orcs out of
That's not what they say in the movies.
out of hundreds of years of torturing the first elves that were captured by Morgoth or
so
Melkor.
for film, you have
This
to
is-
speed it up.
No, they can't take one elf and
How
then
did they create Uruk-hai?
torture her. What? Well,
They
according
created it in 10 minutes.
to the film logic of Peter Jackson's films, the Uruk-hai were created out of pods in the ground.
And all
pods
shall
in the mud.
celebrate. And all shall celebrate. It is now. That would be so good.
You're out of control. He's out of
Toriel
control.
becomes the leader of the orc armies after she slays Balg and Azog, and they need, like the end of Pirates of the Caribbean, the ship needs a captain. They take her and they spoil her. Anyway,
No.
Thank you for joining us on Touring Tuesday. Every Tuesday here at 5 p.m. Pacific at theonering.net/live.
Thank you. We're here in a very hot 92 degrees Los Angeles.
We're not
It's
bragging though.
Wonderful to be here.
Star Wars and Lord of the Rings together. Andy Serkis. I'm so excited.
Andy Serkis and Anthony Daniels, walking in the footsteps where Christopher Lee has already walked. The endless crossovers between Lord of the Rings
and Bruce
and
Spence.
Star Wars and Bruce Spence.
Oh.
It's kind of brilliant. And watch what happens next, guys. Thank you and congratulations to TheOneRing.net for 15 wonderful, wonderful years.
Thank you for joining us.
I can hardly believe I've been doing it as a volunteer for this
believe
long.
He's been doing anything for 15 years.
Thank you. With regularity. I had my Metamucil, so I've got regularity. Anyways,
we gotta turn this off.
You guys are great. Love having you. Thank you and good night. Really wonderful, guys. Thank you.